What up, what up, what up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and we are here today with a live video. So, in this live, we are just going to be discussing Married at First Sight and Ready to Love. So, we're going to talk about this week's episode of Married at First Sight that aired this past Wednesday, and we will also discuss Ready to Love that aired last night on OWN. So, as you come into the room, just like the video, if you're watching the playback, leave your comments in the comment section below. And I guess we'll just go ahead and just start talking about. First, we'll start up with Married at First Sight, you guys. So, yeah, we're going to do Married at First Sight first, and then we will move over to Ready to Love. So, hey, Shayna, hope you're having a good day. So, Married at First Sight. In the comments, let me know what you guys are thinking about Married at First Sight this season. We are in Nashville, Tennessee. We are already on episode 6. I will say for me, Married at First Sight is a slow burn right now, but we will definitely see how the season plays out. So we're gonna go couple by couple, and it's in no particular order. But what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna, like I said, couple by couple. I'm gonna give about 30 minutes on Married at First Sight, and then I'll give about another 30 minutes to Ready to Love. Even though I don't believe Ready to Love deserves 30 minutes, but we'll try to give it that. So the first couple I want to talk about is Dominique and McKinley. So with Dominique and McKinley, these are two people who I don't understand why the experts match them. I don't see any chemistry between them. And I wish they would stop saying that Dominique is an old soul because nothing about this girl screams an old soul. So this episode, we know that they are still in Jamaica on their honeymoons. So Dominique, I got an issue with Dominique because as much as McKinley, he does, complain about things, which can be quite annoying. I will give her that. But at the same token, you complain just as much as he does. And, for him, he's saying that the reason that he's been doing all this, which I wish he would stop the complaining because either you're going to do it or not. But in this episode, she talks about the fact that their relationship with him, she says that the attraction level with him is at a 6, and romantic is about a 3 or a 4, which I'm like, damn, that's a little harsh, but okay. But so in this episode, they went horseback riding. Now, I'm gonna defend McKinley because when they went horseback riding and that horse, did a number 2 and they got on him, I would have been one pissed off person. So it ain't no ifs, no ands, or no buts about that situation. Definitely would have been pissed about that, and I would have, you would have heard my mouth. But with him, I wouldn't have done so much It's just a complaining for me with McKinley, and it's also the fact that McKinley said that he had been horseback riding, many times, and it's like if you haven't been horseback riding, it's not that deep to just say, "Hey, I've never done this before." So I do get some of her first, like I said, I got some of her frustration, the jokes, overkill, the lying is stupid. But at the same time, when it comes to Dominique, I do feel like Dominique might be stuck on herself just a little bit. Like I just feel like that. I don't understand why her mother signed her up for this show. Like that makes no sense to me. This girl is 25 years old. Girl, live your life and have fun at 25 instead of worrying about being somebody's mother. Like that part I just don't understand. So at one point in the episode, they went for a walk, and McKinley he did apologize to Dominique, and he was telling her that the reason he's an introvert, so that's why he's been doing all the things that he's been doing. But once again, complaining, you can kind of minimize that just a little bit because it's just overkill at this point. It's excessive. It's annoying, and I'm like I said, in this particular moment, I'm Team Dominique, but I still don't think that this couple should be together. I just don't see anything between them. I would be surprised if come decision day, these two are still together because I don't see these two making it to. I don't even see them making it to decision day. I know we saw a clip, of her kissing Clint, which we'll talk about Clint too, but These two definitely need a divorce expeditiously. Like I really believe that Dominique and McKinley need a divorce because she is not attracted to this man. She is not interested in this man, and he's not a bad looking guy. He's just it's just that complaining. Nobody wants to hear that all day, every day, and you're on vacation. No, fix it. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about Dominique and McKinley. Dominique with a Y and McKinley with the AC. That's other reason why they probably matched them. Their names are not spelled traditional. So let's see, who do we want to talk about next? Ugh. Let's go ahead and go into Jasmine and Eris. So, Jasmine, I think Jasmine is a beautiful girl and hits from the streets, as I call Eris. I just don't see it for him. He's not my favorite. I mean, ugh. And for him to say that he feels like his wife looks at him as if he's a 12, and then he calls her a 4. Let's reverse that, sir. Let's make her the 12 and you about a -4. I can see why that cousin felt the way she felt, even though I still think that cousin was giving incestuous vibes. I still see how she felt the way she felt about Eris, but she should have had that same energy for her cousin and not for Jasmine. So in this episode, Hits from the Streets doesn't feel like it is a bomb or that he told her he's never been in love before. He doesn't feel like that's a bomb. That is 1000% a bomb, sir. That is a red flag. I don't understand how you can be almost 40 years old and you've never been in love before. All that tells me is that you have used women and had sex with women for years, never developed an emotional never developed an emotional connection with them. It was always a physical connection with the women that Hits from the Streets was with. That's the vibe that I get. So then, this. So with Jasmine, I really want you to stop. They went and got couples massages, right? I really, 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 really want for Jasmine to stop touching this man. This man is not being reciprocated. He's not reciprocating any touch from you. The only thing that this man has managed to do is ask you what your favorite sexual position is, which that was offensive. And then when he was with his friends, talking about, get on your knees. This man is not and they say is a reformed and ready to love. This man is nowhere near reformed. On decision day, actually, I want her to get a quick and fast annulment because it's just a no for Hits from the Streets. I just don't see it for him. He thinks too much of himself. I think that's really what it is. I think he just feels too much of himself. Now, I have been seeing people, make the comments about Jasmine's teethy guys. I don't want to say nothing about her teeth because I think even without her smile, she's still a beautiful girl. So I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, her teeth this, her teeth that. Yes, her teeth are stacked at the bottom. I'm pretty sure she's aware of that, but that don't mean anything. Like it really means nothing. But for Eris, he thinks he's more than what he is. Look at this struggly this beard. This beard is unkept. Go to the barbershop and get that trimmed all the way up, sir, because it is a absolute no. And you want to look at her, look at him. It's apples and oranges. Apples to oranges. I'd go for Jasmine before Jasmine would be a hands down yes. Eris would be a hands down no. Ugh. So he's saying with Jasmine, he's getting a friend vibe from her. And I'm so confused. How are you getting a friendship vibe from the girl if you wanted to know where her favorite sexual position is? That's not a question that you would ask a friend. What is your favorite sexual position? He's a contradiction. So I want him for decision day to say no and go be with that cousin. Because again, that cousin and him, it gives very much so that it is incest. Not saying that this happened, but I'm just saying that's what it gives to me. It gives that to me. So later in the episode, Jasmine once again expressed her concerns about the fact that Eris has never been in love. And I get where she's coming from. For her, she's saying that, guys have her told her that they loved her before she said it, right? And I get what she's saying. She doesn't want to fall in love with this man, and then when it's time for decision day, this man isn't even in love with her. Now, granted, this is a fast-paced process, but yeah, that's the problem with the fact that he has never once been in love with somebody. It doesn't sit well with her, and it damn sure don't sit well with me. And I want you guys just to tell me what you guys think about this situation with Jasmine and Eris in the comments or in the live chat. And I guess we can go ahead and move over to the next couple. Let's see, who do we want to go to next? Nicole and Chris. I like Nicole and Chris a whole lot. I think that if any couple were to make it to decision day and say yes, it's going to be Nicole and Chris because they have a lot in common with each other. But when I say they have a lot in common with each other, they also trauma bond with each other. Every time they sit down with each other, they always tell a story about the past. I'm like, damn, can we not hear about a previous ex at least for one episode? Like everything with Nicole and Chris is trauma bonding, and it just blows my mind. Now, I've said it in many of my reviews about Nicole. Her personality, she has a lot of personality. Whereas when it comes to Chris, Chris seems like he's somebody who is a people pleaser. And I feel like that could work negatively against him in this marriage with Nicole. Because I feel like, now, granted, earlier in the episode, when the guys got together, Clint was like, she's gonna run all over you, which I do feel like if he doesn't stand his ground, that absolutely can happen where she possibly could run over him. But for Clint, he needs to learn how to read the room, number one. But Nicole and Chris, they're on they were talking about sex, right? You guys remember she wanted to have sex by day 2 of the honeymoon, but at this point Nicole and Chris have not had sex with each other. They basically want to build a connection with each other. And Chris was talking about the fact that in his previous relationships, one of them, he said they only had sex 3 times in the whole year that they were together. I was like, damn, that's kind of scary. And then he said the other relationship he was in, they used sex as a band-aid. So that's not something that they particularly want to do. I was like, that's exactly something that you don't want to do. So then we later see her and Chris when they went kayaking, and Chris splashed some water on her. And when he splashed that water on her face, I was like, that's a little crazy behind the eyes. So they talked about what their pet peeves are. Now, Chris, sir, this is a whole contradiction. So you have an issue with dirty dishes being in the sink, but you only wash your clothes and your sheets once a month, and you have animals. That's nasty. That's nasty. We need to burn that place. That is nasty as hell. How many clothes do Chris have? You can't have that many that you wash them once a month. Ugh. That just repulsed me when he said he only washes his clothes once a month. And then he's talking about, well, I'm so busy with work. Granted, I get being busy with work, but I'm busy with work too. But I always make sure that I have time to wash my clothes, wash my dishes, wash everything in this apartment. I am not going to sleep in filth. Ugh, that was nasty. That was disgusting to me. So what I want to do now is I do want to talk about all the couples got together to talk. So the men got together at one point to talk, and the ladies got together to talk, and then they all came together. So when they were they were sitting, they were asking, has anybody gotten into any arguments yet? No. Has anybody had sex yet? No. So Clint, once again, someone who cannot read the room, asked Eris, has he blown Jasmine's back out? I was like, why would you ask that question in front of everybody? That wasn't the question to ask, sir. Have you blown your wife's back out? Read the room. So again, nobody's had sex, right? So Kirsten, she's now see with Kirsten, I want to like Kirsten, but I can't like Kirsten. She's talking about the fact about not being into Shaq, and it's just like, girl, you still going off of this superficial stuff. He's bald. He's younger than you. What has this man done to make you not like him? Now we'll talk about her later in the episode in the review. Well, not really review, it's just discussion, but we'll talk about her later. And it's just like you keep talking about what the man hasn't done and what the man doesn't like. It's all physical, and I have an issue with that. Is Kirsten a pretty girl? Yes. Is she the most beautiful girl in the world? No. So Gina. I wanted to defend you based off of that clip that from the trailer that they showed. I was really ready to come into this episode and just lay into Clint, but I can't lay into Clint because you were talking about his red hair. This man cannot change the fact that he is a redhead. I don't know what Gina wants from him. I guess she wants him to go into the bathroom and dye his hair black, blonde, or something other than red, right? So when she said that, he came back with, talking about the fact that he typically likes athletic and slender women. Now, did he have to say that in front of the whole group? No, he didn't have to say that, period. But I mean, I guess he was taking a dig back at Gina. So we'll talk about Clint and Gina just a little bit. But when that happened, it brought the mood down because they went horseback riding, and it just brought the mood down because the ladies were upset with him. So when the guys and the girls got together, right? So Chris was talking about how things with Nicole are, right? He's things are good, but she is she likes to hold hands a little bit too much for his personal liking. I was like, Chris, that's gonna be a problem. You got to speak up, buddy. I need you to speak up and tell Nicole what it is that you feel and what it is that you need from her, because she, like I said, I feel like she might kind of trample over him just a little bit, right? So then Dominique was telling the girls about McKinley's complaining, and I'm like, but you're complaining about McKinley complaining. Why not have the conversation with him first and foremost? So then, Jasmine was telling the ladies about her issues with Eris and the fact that he has never been in love before. Once again, he did not see it as a bomb, which again, I don't know how you don't see that as a bomb, but it was definitely a bomb, sir. And then that's when he was talking about, that she looks at him as a 12 and he looks at her as about a 4 because he is a butt man. He likes Megan Thee Stallion types, Beyonce. I was like, you couldn't even get in the same room as a Megan Thee Stallion or a Beyonce. So, sir, shut up. So then the ladies were talking to Gina about Clint's comments about the body, right? Was his comment offensive? Yes, it was offensive, right? All the ladies were offended because they're all curvy women. So I got where they were coming from. But at the same time, Gina didn't, she threw the first blow and he came back at her. So I can't really say that I'm on Team Gina or Team Clint because she started it, he finished it. You can't dictate how a person responds to the things that you say or do. Now, I want you guys in the comments or in the chat to tell me what you thought about that as well. And we are going to move on to our next couple. Let's talk about Kirsten and Shaquille, you guys. So, on paper, Kirsten and Shaquille would be a perfect match because the things that they said that they want out of their partner, they absolutely have it. Now, for Kirsten, the only things that she does not have that she asks for is a man with hair and a man that is, young, older than her, right? Girl, you could have been matched up with hits from the streets. So you got to take it or leave it. But with Kirsten, I really wish with Kirsten that she would absolutely tell Shaquille that she, what she really feels, because it just every time that they have a conversation, she always comes up with something new, in my personal opinion, because they were talking, and I did not like the fact that Shaquille told her what Eris had told them about, how he rated Jasmine. I did not like that. I didn't like that. But I do agree with Kirsten that, he should tell her that. But I do see where Shaquille is coming from, because he had to deal with the fact that she's not attracted to him. So it's a catch 22, because I can see Kirsten's side and I can see Shaquille's side. What Shaquille's trying to say is, I guess, that Eris doesn't want to hurt her by telling her that. But then, Kirsten's whole thing is he should be honest with her. So I can see both sides of the coin, and I actually lean more toward Kirsten's side, surprisingly. Let's see. Kirsten doesn't want to like that man. She does not want to like him. And he's actually, now, there are some things that I've saw on social media that, a lot of people question Shaquille's sexuality. I'm not gonna do that, but there are a lot of people that think that Shaquille might either be gay or bi. I have nothing to say about that. We shall see how this plays out, right? Now, in this particular moment, she was talking to Shaquille about the fact that, she doesn't like that he jokes a lot. But then at one point she said, he talks to her, it's like Martin Luther King. So it's like, which one is it? Is it, does he joke a lot, or does he talk to you like Martin Luther King? Like, it's giving, conflicting statements. And I don't think, again, I just think she just doesn't want this man, and she doesn't know how to say it. And I just want her to flat out say, I'm not interested in you. I don't like you like that. So we're gonna have to, even, girl, you don't even have to say it on camera. Say it behind the scenes. I'm fine with that. Like, I would be fine with that if he just said it behind the scenes. Because he even asked her, what do you like about me? I'll tell you what she likes about you. Not a damn thing. She don't like anything about you, Shaquille. I hate to tell you that, but she likes nothing about you. You repulse that woman. You repulse her. And I just want her to be honest about her feelings. But unfortunately, she's not. Because you are not her match and she is not yours. I was watching Misha's live the other night, and I agreed with her matches. Like, Shaquille should be with Jasmine. I don't know if Kirsten would be with Eris, but we could do that with McKinley and Dominique. I will put McKinley with Gina, and I will put Dominique with Clint, and we could keep Nicole and Chris together. With Nicole and Chris, I just really, really, really need for them to stop with the trauma bonding. If they stop with that, I would really go up for them. I go up for them now, but I would really go for them if we stop that trauma bonding. So then let's go to the last couple, Gina and Clint. If you look at Clint kind of reminds me of Zach Galifianakis as well as Chuck Norris. So Gina and Clint. Gina, Gina. I have a lot of questions for you, Gina. Number one is, who is Gina? Will the real Gina please stand up? Because I don't know who Gina is. I don't know Gina's identity outside of her damn salon. Every time Gina is on the screen, Gina is talking about the salon. I was like, can you talk about anything else besides that damn salon? So they were having breakfast by the pool, and Clint was talking about how he wanted to take her sailing, and she's talking about how she has to do onboarding. I was like, oh my God, Gina, I don't care about this salon. And coming into this season, I was watching Gina. I thought I was gonna like Gina. I don't dislike Gina, but I'm not too fond of Gina at this particular moment, because Gina does a lot. So after the couples got together, and he talked about how he likes athletic and slender women. Clint, I'm really gonna need you to read the room. Please read the room. When you were talking to Gina, Gina kept hitting you with the yeah, 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 yeah. Hey, Dominique, how you doing today? But when Clint hit her, she kept hitting him with that, yeah. I was like, you do know that she's mad at you, right? But he kept talking to her. I'm like, I really want for Clint to read the room. So then Gina eventually in the episode told Clint how she felt and how the other girls felt about, oh, I'm good. It's Saturday. It is Saturday and I'm not working today, so life is perfect. But she was telling Clint about how the other ladies felt. And like I said, I do think he was wrong for. I mean, it is his type, right? Everybody has a type, but I think the way he vocalized it was wrong. And so then he told her the fact that you keep referencing a ginger, that's offensive to him. So then Gina was like, well, since she does people's hair for a living, she talks about the fact that people come in and ask for that hairstyle, and it's okay for her to say, I'm like, girl, that is not how that works. When somebody tells you that something offends them, you don't dictate what's offensive to a person or not. That's like us as black people, or black people, Jewish people. There are so many derogatory terms for us, and that's like somebody saying the N word and then telling me that I can't be offended because, oh, I have a lot of people that come into my salon and they say the N word all the time and they let me say it. It don't work that way, Gina. So I'm not on Gina's side. Was, like I said, was Clint wrong? Yes. Was Gina wrong? Yes. Both Clint and Gina were wrong in this situation, but after watching the episode and doing my review and watching other people's reviews, I am starting to get more on Clint's side with this situation. And I initially wasn't on his side because I was thinking when he was talking about Gina was walking away because she was deflecting. Initially, I did not think that she was walking away because she was deflecting. But the more that I sat with and I thought about it, I'm like, yes, actually, Gina was walking away because she was deflecting from the situation. And it goes back to what I just said a minute ago. You cannot tell this man how to feel. If he tells you that calling him a ginger is offensive, you tell him, I am sorry about that. Now, granted, was Clint's apology good? No. He gave a half-ass. He gave a half-assed apology, and she didn't give an apology. She became defensive. So with Gina and Clint, I am on nobody's side whatsoever. Like, I'm not on anybody's side. So let's go back to the overall picture of the show. So let's look at all of these couples. So I'm just gonna go down and look at these couples. I don't really see anybody making it past decision day, with the exception of Nicole and Chris. Nicole and Chris are the only two that I think will say yes on decision day. I damn sure know that if Shaquille says yes, he might say yes, but I guarantee you, Kirsten is gonna give you a hell no. Gina and Clint, they both gonna say hell no. Dominique and McKinley, what do we think about Dominique and McKinley? I don't think Dominique is gonna say yes. I think she's gonna say a no too. I believe Dominique will say no. And Jasmine and Hits from the Streets. What do I think about these two? Honestly, I want Jasmine to say no. I want her to say no because I want her to get an annulment. I really do. I want that marriage to be over by the time they get back to Nashville. I want that marriage dissolved. I want it to be as if that marriage never happened with Jasmine and Eris. But chime in the comment section and in the live chat and let me know what you guys think. And we are going to go ahead, and I guess we're going to get ready to just wrap up Married at First Sight. So yeah, in the comment section below, tell me what you guys are thinking about this season so far of Married at First Sight. Are you guys liking it? What do you guys think about the couples? And we will discuss that down in the comment section below or in the live chat. And now we're going to go ahead and move over to this dreaded Ready to Love. So let's go ahead and pop over to Ready to Love. All right, guys. So Ready to Love. Now I don't have a picture of everybody on the cast because actually on this picture, the only people that we have left is Pick Me Susu, Lyndon, Mercedes, Jeffrey, Blue, Marcia, Blake, Tony, Anthony. For right now, that's it. So with Ready to Love, you guys, I just want y'all to let me know in the comment section in the chat below, how are we feeling about this season of Miami for Ready to Love? For me personally, this season is just not giving. I'm not really enjoying it so much. I don't know what it is about this season of Ready to Love. Now, I will say with the women, I think the women are every woman on this cast this season, they're all beautiful. The men, I think a good chunk of the men are there just basically for camera time or just basically playing a game because I don't see, no, we're at the halfway point and I don't see any matches with these people. I don't see not a one match. Now, about a halfway point in Ready to Love, we can typically see at least one or two couples. I don't see not a one couple. And the couples, the people that are saying that they have connections with each other, they feel kind of forced, in my personal opinion. So in this episode, Tommy met up with the men and he told the men like to, go talk to your connections and ask them the hard hitting questions. And I don't think I saw anybody ask any hard hitting questions in this episode. But if I'm wrong, I want y'all to let me know. But I don't really feel like I got any hard hitting questions from these men. So the one thing with Ready to Love that I kind of get annoyed with is the group dates. I hate when they go on group dates because that doesn't really do much. All it does is scream that we're cheap and we don't want to send them out on individual dates. So the first group date that we had this episode was Blake, Pygmy Susu, Lyndon, Cynthia, Mercedes, and Anthony. So they went on an obstacle course, and so we see them split up at one point. So Anthony and Mercedes were talking. Now Anthony he has a daughter, and now I could have swore in the first episode of this season when they were at the mixer that Mercedes said she would be ready to be a stepmother, but I guess I could be wrong because in this episode she's talking about the fact that she doesn't know about their situation. She don't know he has the whole package basically, right? He's established, and she doesn't know that she can be that for him. And he basically said that they could possibly share, right? And with Anthony, I don't have a good read on Anthony because with Ready to Love, they don't really show Anthony that much. Like we've only saw Anthony within the last few episodes, so I don't have a good read on Mr. Anthony. But from what I can see so far, I do like Anthony. I think he is a good guy, but I don't have a great read on him, so I can't say yay or nay to him. Who I can say yay or nay to is Miss Pickney Susu. Sue is somebody that I don't see it for. So Sue was talking to Lyndon, and Lyndon actually they're side by side in this picture. So Sue and Lyndon, ugh, the conversation that they had with each other, it didn't go anywhere. It did absolutely nothing. And Sue is mostly into Blake. I don't know if Lyndon didn't pick up on that she had no connection with him. She wasn't feeling him, but I want him to do better for himself. So then he really made himself look kind of foolish. I hate to say it. So he was sitting down with Mercedes. He was like, "Do you like me?" And I was thrown back like she was. It was given second grade. Like how in the second grade you would have, if you like somebody, you would pass them a little note. Do you like me? Yes or no? And then they'll you have the little box. You check yes or you check no, and then you have your answer. So that's what that really gave me. But basically, she told him that when it comes down to it, she sees his connection, she sees how he is with other women. So she just feels that it's a friendship vibe. I think that might be a thing for a lot of the women with Lyndon. It might just be a homie. Like we can go to the you see she work at a bar. We can go to the bar, have a good drink, and that'd be about it. Because that's really unfortunately all I see from Lyndon is the homie vibe. I don't see anything more with Lyndon. I don't but again, I don't see anything with a lot of these people. None of these people give me any type of they like each other. And this goes back to one of my issues with Ready to Love. The fact that these people have connection, they talk to each other off camera and we're not privy to it. I think that's the one thing that really does bother me with Ready to Love. If we could see, what happens behind the scenes, then sometimes things will make sense because in this particular scene, he was talking to, at one point, Lyndon was talking to Sue about the fact that he had given her his number and she didn't use it. As the age old saying goes, you make time for who you want to. Obviously, she don't want to make no time for you. So then we see Sue, and Sue was with Blake at one point, right? And Sue, you do realize you're more into Blake than Blake is into you, right? I just want you to know you are more into that man and he is not into you by no means, because she was the one that was all over him. She sat in his lap, she kissed him, and then she said she got a boyfriend. I'm like, girl, that is pathetic and sad as hell. You got to do better for yourself. Ugh. But you know what? I can't feel bad for her because, like I call her, pick me Susu. That's all she gives is pick me vibes. So then we move over and we have a solo date with Jeffrey and Blake. The only thing that I could focus on in this particular scene with Jeffrey and not Blake, but Jeffrey and Blue was her hair. Her hair was all over her head. I was like, "Man, can you at least brush it, comb it, do something?" Because that hair was distracting the hell out of me, right? So I don't really know what the conversation was between Jeffrey and Blue because also with Jeffrey, her voice is very annoying. It's grating. It's like nails on a chalkboard. So I don't really listen to everything that she says, but I do know that she told him to be, more assertive with her. So he got up from the table and he came and sat where she was and held her hand. I was like, well, at least he listens to you. But again, I don't really see what the connection is. Yeah, if you guys see any connect, let me know in the comment section and in the live chat. Do you guys see any connections this season? Because I just don't see any. And like I said, the ones that they're trying to say that they have connections with, they just seem very forced to me. They don't seem genuine. They don't seem authentic. Blake and Susu don't seem authentic. Jeffrey and Blue, Jeffrey and Andre, Jeffrey and Mark Anthony, none of those connections seem authentic. Like not one of those connections seem authentic. Now I will say that there is one connection that I do think is authentic, and that is between Cynthia and Andre. And I did not expect that connection between Cynthia and Andre, but I think that might be the only one that I can say is genuine. Actually, let's take that. Let's backtrack. I think that any connection with Cynthia is authentic because I think Cynthia knows what she. I think Cynthia really is here for love. So I think that her connection with Andre and with Anthony might be real, but I'm wondering if they're just real on her side. But we'll see. Sue is a pick me with no personality. She 100% is a pick me with no personality. So then, let's see what this next comes. Nope, no connections. Like this season is just not giving what it's supposed to give to me. Hey, hey, like this season is just not giving for me, and I just want to do better for Rated to Love. And then I know next season they're coming to Dallas, so they're going to be doing 2 seasons here in Dallas. And then I know that they're casting for New Orleans currently. Hopefully Dallas. Oh God, hopefully Dallas don't let me down. So let's see where we at now. So next up, let's talk about Morgan and Lyndon. So Morgan does have a connection with. Well, she says she has a connection with Lyndon. I think it might be more so of a friend vibe because she was talking about she wants more in the chemistry department. So I do feel like with Morgan, it's more so of a friendship vibe with Lyndon. But she does say to Lyndon that she feels like she can open up more to him as compared to her other connections, and I can see that. And we're gonna talk about her other connection in just a minute. But then Morgan has talked about in I think in episode 1 or 2 that she's never been in love. So then she told Lyndon that the reason why she's never been in love is because with her last ex, although he was a good guy, he just wasn't for her and he wasn't someone that she could trust. And trust is the big thing in a relationship. And if you don't feel like you can trust the person, then where's the love? So I get that. So let's see what this comment says. Cynthia is good. Andre Andre is an ass for what he did to Mercedes. We'll talk about that. And then Blue looks good in this pic. Yeah, in this picture, Blue looks good. But in his scenes, he looks a lot different. So it says Blue looks good in this pic. The ladies are sleeping on him. Now, I don't know if I would say the ladies are sleeping on him because, again, we don't see everything. So some of the ladies may have connections with him. We just don't see everything. And then when Blue is on screen, I will say when Blue is on screen, he does not come across. He comes across very boring to me personally. When I look at Blue on screen, he's very boring. So let's see. Morgan wants someone to fight over her. Huh. I don't know if I agree with that comment about Morgan wants someone to fight over her. I can see it. I can see where you're coming from with the fact that going back to the previous one of the previous episodes when they were on the boat, when she said that when she picked Lyndon over Tony, I can see that. I do see where you're coming from. So maybe yeah, I can see that point. So next up, let's talk about Tony. I'm gonna go deep into Tony. So Tony went out on a date with Marcia, and he's talking about how there's a difference between Marcia and Morgan, and he's saying that when it comes down to Morgan, that Morgan is more. I do not want to say aggressive. She's more assertive when it comes to their connection, and I'm like, is she really? Because I don't see it. But I mean, if that's what you want to say, I don't really see it. You say I'm 50. I prefer a calmer man. I understand. I understand. So for me, when it comes to Tony, I think Tony is playing games. I've said it in every one of my reviews, and I will continue to say it. When it comes down to Tony, Tony for me feels like somebody that is a chameleon and that he shapeshifts and he molds himself to be who he thinks the woman wants. I don't get anything genuine or authentic from Tony. Not one thing comes off as authentic to me. So Tony is saying that he has a connection between Morgan, Marcia, and Jonique. That's the one that's throwing me off as Jonique. How do you have a connection with Jonique when in the last episode when y'all were together on the boat and Jonique started crying? How do you have a connection with Jonique and you told her, oh, you gonna make a brother cry? I may not be the biggest fan of Andre, but when Andre and Cynthia went painting and Cynthia broke down crying, Andre was there. He gave her a napkin or tissue to wipe her eyes. Tony just sat there and let Jonique cry, but he has a connection with her. I don't buy it, right? I don't buy Tony. I don't believe anything that comes out of Tony's mouth. I think Tony is just trying to get, I think Tony is playing a numbers game to make it to the end of the show because I don't see him being, genuine with Marcia or Morgan. I don't see anything genuine from this man. So then we got another group date, and it is with Tony, Jeffrey, Jonique, and Mark Anthony, you guys. So Mark Anthony set this date up, right? So he asked them how, he asked Jonique and, you know, Jeffrey, how's the process for them, right? So Jonique says that the process for her is an overwhelming one. And I can understand where she's coming from. I can get that this will be an overwhelming process because this is speed dating on steroids. So you're dating multiple men. So you're trying to weed through them to see who you like and who you don't like. So and it's very fast paced. So it's a rapid speed dating. So I get where she's coming from in that particular moment. And then Jeffrey is talking about the fact that, she is present, but she overthinks things because she said she didn't, she used to say that she didn't want to date a man that had kids, but then she ended up being alone when she had her kids, and that's really sad. And right, Tony is a slickster. He sure is. I see right through Tony, but I don't understand how the women don't see through Tony. That's what's blowing me is that they don't see through Tony. And so at one point, Jonique and Mark Anthony were talking. I love how she articulates herself because they were asking her what does she like in a man? And she says she likes an alpha man. She says she doesn't like a man who is cocky or arrogant and stuff like that, right? She likes a man who can lead and be the leader, the provider, and the protector. And I get where she's coming from, right? But when she says all of that, and especially the fact that she says she doesn't like a man that's cocky, I'm like, but that's Tony. Tony is cocky. And I don't know how she doesn't see that Tony is cocky, but it is what it is, right? So then she says that she feels that Mark Anthony is there for the wrong reasons. I'm like, you might want to flip that one. I think it is Tony who is here for the wrong reasons and not Mark Anthony. Like, I was confused. Now, when it comes down to Mark Anthony, just like I said earlier about Anthony, I can't put my finger on Anthony. I also can't put my finger on Mark Anthony as well. Like parts of me feel like maybe Mark Anthony is, a little bit cocky and stuff, but I can't really definitively put my finger on him. But I can damn sure put my finger on Tony and tell you who Tony is and what time Tony gives to us, right? So Tommy got all of now when Tommy was with the men, he didn't tell the men that this was going to be their week to send a woman home. So Tommy got the group together for a group date. And in this particular moment, I saw Tony's jealousy rear its ugly head when Lyndon and Morgan were talking. Now, going back to this comment, I actually can see that because in this particular moment, in this episode right here, Morgan was talking to Lyndon and not to Tony. And that's when I said Tony's jealousy came in and you could see it. I was like, okay, I can see it, but I don't know when it comes to Morgan, do I think that I feel like she might like Lyndon, but not like that. I don't think it's a deep connection there. So then we got Sue. So Sue, honestly, in this particular scene, I just really wanted for Sue to just actually this whole entire episode, every scene with Sue and her wig, I just really wanted her to adjust that wig, just pull it forward or pull it off, one of the two, but the wig wasn't giving what she thought it was giving, right? So she was talking about how Anthony's energy is off. And I'm like, ma'am, how are you talking about his energy is off when you are being very monotone with this man? You're not giving him anything. Like, we know that you have a connection with Blake, but does Blake have a connection with you is the real question, Miss Pick Me Susu. Ugh, I don't, if so this week, well, actually it's going to be next week, one man and one woman's go home. I will be happy if both Susu and Blake go home. I'll be entirely happy. So Tommy had them all sit down with each other and tell each other what their good and their bad were, right? After this, he told them about Andre with the Medea microphone in the front of his head, right? So he had COVID and he left the process. So he can't. So Tommy told them that he had talked to him and he wants to rejoin the process. So everybody was cool with that, and I was confused by that. How the men were so cool with that. I get how the women are cool with it, but the men, that's a little bit of competition for you, especially guys who are interested in Jeffrey and Cynthia. He's your competition. That wig was off. Absolutely, that wig was off. It should have come off of her head. So Andre decided. So they let Andre join the group again, right? So Tommy went straight to Andre to tell him, tell everybody what the good and the bad was, right? So his bad was the fact that Mercedes had not reached out to him after the process, after he left the process. And I was like, are you serious? This woman was strengthening her connections. Now, granted, because she had texted that man and asked him how he was doing. Yes, that's it. But if she wasn't feeling you before, why is she gonna try to feel you after the process? Like, I didn't like Andre coming after Mercedes. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Him coming after her like that. And then Jeffrey. So Jeffrey and Marcia, they said that they don't have a connection with Anthony, right? And Cynthia chimed in like, "Oh, Anthony had he is good. I don't have a connection with Mark Anthony." I was like, "Girl, you better defend your boy." I was here for if you guys can't tell, I love me some Cynthia. I love me some Cynthia, right? So Jonique also says that there's no spark there between she and what's his name again? Mark Anthony. And Susu tried to say something, and I'm like, "Girl, you might want to hush." And when she said that, Mark Anthony said, "Well, there's no connection between me and you either, Sue." I was like, "Exactly. There's no connection between any of these men and Sue. Not even Blake. Blake Blake really used you, Sue. I hope you know that. Blake gave you a dumbass nickname and with Susu, and then he bought you that gift. He was literally buying your affection. And if you two pick me to see that, then that's between you and him, right?" So then I think it was Morgan who was talking about the fact that, Jeffrey had mentioned that, earlier in the season, the earlier episodes, that I think it was the first or second ladies lounge, when Jeffrey said that, Blake has told her he was her only connection, and he hated going on these dates telling these women, the things that he didn't really mean. Now, I don't. Now, let me know what you guys think. Do you guys believe Blake or do you guys believe Jeffrey? For me, I don't know who to believe, but I'm starting to lean more towards Jeffrey because her story has not changed. She said the same thing more than she said the same thing, and she said it the same way consistently. So I'm starting to lean a little bit toward Jeffrey's side, believing her. So Blake says that he didn't say it. I don't care if he said it or not. But what I will say though with Blake is I do believe that there's some validity to it because when it comes to Blake, if you look at how Blake interacts with the women, there's nothing there. He's dead. It's like it's a deadpan. It's static. Nothing. It's like pulling teeth when it comes to the women and Blake. So I don't see it. Now, he at one point, Tommy moved over to Blake. So Blake says that, when it comes down to him, he brought up Jonique and the fact that Jonique doesn't, Jonique wants kids and he doesn't want to have more kids. And I'm like, but it wasn't just Jonique that wants to have wants to have kids. Morgan wants kids. There are a lot of these women that want kids. So it's not just Jonique. So I don't know why he singled Jonique out. Like this is why I say I want for Blake and Pick Me Susu to go home because I just don't see it for either one of them at this point. And they're starting to give me Camille and Cornelius vibes, minus the crazy, but they're definitely giving me Camille and Cornelius. So now Jeffrey, ugh, I know you were addressing. So Jeffrey was addressing Blake, right? I didn't like the fact that she mentioned Pick Me Susu. I really didn't like that. Like you could have mentioned Blake. Now, yes, has Pick Me Susu chimed in? Absolutely. Did she have to say something at the ladies' lounge? tell Blake what was said at the ladies' lounge? Absolutely not. But I don't like the fact that Jeffree addressed Pygmy Susu. Like, you could have said anything and not even made mention to that woman. Let's see what this comment says. Same here. Blake and Susu can have each other if that's what they want. No one else wants them. Absolutely. Nobody wants Blake or Pygmy Susu. I believe Jeffree. And Blake gave Jeffree the impression that he wanted her only, but was probably mad when she wanted to continue dating others. I can see that as well. But like I said, I still think now that, like I said, with Jeffree, she's repeated the same thing multiple times and her story has never changed. So I'm leaning more towards me believing Jeffree over Blake. I just think Blake is full of shit. What up, Phil? Late to the party, Jeffree's a weirdo. Okay, Phil, you always against you be with the wrong team, but it's all love. You say Jeffree's a weirdo. Do I think Jeffrey's? She's a strange one. For me, she's a very strange person. So that's really where the episode ended with. They didn't eliminate anybody. So that's really where the episode ended. So Phil says, "What has Blake done?" So for me, Blake hasn't done anything. Blake hasn't done anything, and that's one of my problems with Blake, because Blake is not giving anything. Look at every date that Blake has been on. They've all been horrible. Like, he's not had one good date this entire season. He didn't have only time he has a good date is with Sue. But that's because Sue likes him and she gives more to Blake than Blake gives to her. The only thing that Blake is really giving Sue is a nickname and a gift. So I don't have an issue with Blake. I just don't think that Blake likes any of these women. I don't believe like Blake likes any woman in this process. Like, if him and Sue pick each other, which I don't think they're going to make it to the end, but I bet you by the reunion, Blake will have moved on with his life. So I don't have an issue with Blake. It's his delivery. Like, when in this particular episode, when he was talking about Jonique and the fact that Jonique wants kids, it's not just Jonique that wants kids. It's a lot of those women that wants kids. And I'm okay with the fact that Blake doesn't want kids. That's fine. But to make mention of, if you know that the woman don't want kids, why go on? If you know that she wants kids and you don't want kids, why go on a date with a person like that? That's counterproductive. You say your connection went out. So I was saying that Blake didn't do anything. Blake hasn't done anything to the women. He just gives absolutely nothing. He gives nothing. Blake has gone out on dates with multiple women. Oh, your connection went out that he's dry. So yeah, so Blake doesn't give anything to the women. And I feel like with Blake, he's not intentional. And for someone who knows that he doesn't want children, he manages to talk to the women. He went out on a date with Jonique. Jonique wants kids. He talked to Morgan. Morgan wants kids. I think he's doing things that are counterproductive. The only person on this show that I think he had a chance with was probably between Sue and Jeffree. And I said, I actually do believe Jeffree, because her story has not changed at all. Because when you tell a lie, you have to keep telling, you have to add on to, because you're not going to remember everything that you said. So I don't believe that Jeffree lied. So if he had at any point, if there was going to be anybody that he would have had a connection with, it could have been between excuse me, y'all. Yeah, Phil, I know the production set those dates up. I do know that. And that's why I say he's very dry. On every day he goes on, he is dry. Like, I have not saw him go out with anybody and Blake seemed anywhere near, he doesn't seem lively. All his dates are just boring. I don't know if it's him or if it's the person he's going out with. Because even when he was sitting, even with this group date with Sue, Sue was making all the moves on Blake. He didn't make not one move on Sue. Let's go back up here. Blake is in the bottom every time because he talks bad to the women. Exactly. Blake is always in the bottom. And that's my issue. Don't get me wrong, Blake is dry and maybe a dog. I just think everyone is coming for him for no reason. Okay. I mean, I can see that. But I'm not coming to him. It's not me. So when I come at Blake, I come at Blake because I think he's just a dry person. That's really all I say. I just feel like Blake is dry. I don't have an issue with Blake, but I just think he's very dry. What has he said that's bad since the first episode? He hasn't really said anything that's bad since the first episode. For me, like I just said earlier, when he was talking about Jonique, the fact that Jonique wants kids and he doesn't, it felt like he was singling her out when she's not the only woman that wants kids. And what has he said bad? Now, allegedly, this is according to Jeffrey. He says that she said that he was her only connect. She was his connection, and that he hated to talk to the other women. I can see that. I can see that because he definitely does hate talking to these women. I don't think he really enjoys any of these women, with the slight exception of Susu. But I don't even really think he likes her that as well as he's trying to come across. So at 44, I want to be direct and not on bull. Now, I agree with that statement to an extent. Because I always feel that people who say they want to be direct, sometimes directness you have to know your audience. Because sometimes being direct to certain people can be perceived as being direct can be perceived as being rude to certain people. So I'm fine with somebody being direct, but there comes, sometimes, like I said, being direct can sometimes come off as being rude to people. Not always, but sometimes. Shayna says it's not for no reason. He shouldn't be on the show. Yeah. Phil says I can see it as a game. I think it is a game for Blake. For Blake, I think that this. But if I say that for Blake, I feel that for all of them, it's a lot of them that I feel is just a game for him. I think it's a game for Blake. I feel it's a game for Tony. Blake and Tony are the two guys that I don't get anything from. I feel like Blake is not interested in these women, and I feel like Tony is shape shifting, morphing himself into something that he is not for the women that he goes on dates with. It's like when Blake is on a date, he acts disinterested. It's like, why is he even there? That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Going back to that date with Jonique, when she asked him a question, he said that was a very generic or general question. So I'm gonna give you a very general response, and it was like, what? Blake was spitting game at Jeffrey. I do believe that. A lot of them shouldn't be on the show. Absolutely. It isn't. It's not just Blake. It's a lot of them that shouldn't be on the show. I feel like Blake shouldn't be on this show. I feel like Tony shouldn't be here. And, some of the other ones that we don't see a lot of, I think that they're just boring. I think Anthony is boring. I think who else? Blue, Lyndon. Actually, with Lyndon just give homie vibe. Jonique says she likes to turn up. It was a rap. But she said that after Jonique said she likes to, now it was a rap after she said she likes to turn up. But she said that before, after she asked him what he did, because she asked him what did he do, he ran off his resume to her, and then he asked her what does she like to do in her spare time or in her hobbies. So she said she liked to turn up. I mean, you asked a question, so you got a response. So I don't have an issue with Blake. I just don't think that Blake is intentional. But again, I don't think a lot of these men are intentional on this show. I don't think Of the two guys, like I said, Tony and Blake, neither one of those two give me intentional, but for some reason, Blake keeps making it through, and for some reason, Marcia and Morgan keep picking Tony, and I don't understand why. I don't understand why. And I wonder what do they think? What do they think looking back, watching these episodes? Because it's very telling. And I will say, when it comes to Blake, look at Blake's body language. Blake's body language gives it away that he's disinterested. He hasn't said anything to anybody, but his body, your body language speaks a lot too. As well, you have verbal and nonverbal, and his nonverbal is very loud, speaks loudly. It's saying, I don't like these women. I'm not interested. I'm here for it. We say that, but we say this about every season because I think we're starting to see that some of these people come on here to be on TV, make it to the end, get a check. So it is what it is. It really is what it is. Phil says, I don't care. I don't care for Blake either, but he is villainized for some reason. Blake was in the military. Yeah. Blake was in the military, gave me all the answers. And after he said that to Jonique, it does kind of, shed a little bit of light as to why he is how he is. It's probably that military background and that training for him. I feel like probably that's what it is. That's probably why he comes off very stoic and very, dry, bland, and boring. So that might be what. So that could be what it is. Exactly, JB. Jonique told Blake a lot, and she just sat there looking crazy. Exactly. I mean, he sat there looking crazy. He did sit there looking crazy. So I mean, again, I don't have a issue with Blake. Okay, but do you come off like Blake do? That's the question, Phil. Hey, Evita. Honestly, Blake, Susu, and Jeffrey can go. Hmm. So y'all not feeling Jeffrey like that? Well, I guess I'm not really feeling Jeffrey too much myself, but I agree with that. She can go. She can go. you, yes, Phil, you are very difficult at times. Shayna says I like Jeffrey. Now, since I'm giving Mr. Blake a hard time, I can give Jeffrey a hard time too. I don't believe Jeffrey has any true connections in this process. I think Jeffrey is trying to find a connection. I don't see any. I don't think because last week's episode, when she was talking about, oh, I'm looking at Blue differently, girl, really. And it's so interesting that we are at the halfway point in this season, and there's not one connection with this group of people. Like not one person has a connection. Evita says Jeffrey is playing a numbers game. Does she really have all these connections? I doubt it. I don't I don't buy it. I think that they're forcing connections. And I feel, it's kind of like how I felt about last season of Miami. I didn't feel like anybody had a connection. I don't know if it's Miami that's not translating well on screen, but no, they're all trying to find connections. Absolutely. Jeffrey needs to go home and take. Oh, Jeffrey needs to go home and take care of her three children, in my opinion. Oh, oh, I can say I'm gonna leave that one alone. But yeah, is there anything else I want to say? Um, but yeah, I don't think there's any connections with this cast. I would be surprised if we get to the end and we see anybody say yes to anybody. Right? How dare Jeffrey diss that handsome Blue? Um, I don't. I don't think Jeffrey has a connection with him. I don't think he has one with her. I just feel like I think that they realize that you can see now that the numbers are dwindling down, and that they are just they're grasping at straws at this point. I think everybody's grasping at straws. Like I said earlier, the only person that I can say that I feel has any connections in this process, but I don't know how serious her connections are to her, is Cynthia. I think Cynthia might have a connection with Andre and his Medea microphone. I think she might have a connection with Anthony, but I don't know how serious they are with Cynthia. I definitely see that Cynthia's here for the right reasons. I feel like a lot of the ladies are here for the right reasons, but I don't think that the men, I just question if the men that they are choosing to have connections with are real, true connections. You know what I'm saying? So, because I mean, Marcia, I think Marcia wants, wants this process to work, but she's his toe wagging to Tony, and Tony is not somebody that is genuine or authentic. I don't see it. So, I think they just need to go ahead and wrap up, Ready to Love Miami, and go ahead and just head over to Dallas, and then we can go on down to New Orleans after that. And yes, I did see it earlier today about them. I did see it earlier today about them casting in both Dallas. I already knew they were casting here in Dallas. I didn't know about New Orleans. So I saw that casting slide for New Orleans. I know they're casting for Ready to Love Dallas, Ready to Love New Orleans, and Put a Ring on It. Y'all know I don't watch that show, so I don't know nothing about Put a Ring on It. No, it's okay. I get what you're saying. And you say Cynthia is the best out of it. Absolutely. Cynthia. So I will tell you guys my top two ladies that I like this season, who I think are just drop dead gorgeous and beautiful. Mercedes. Mercedes is a beautiful young lady, and Cynthia. And more, well, I'll say top 3 or 4. So Cynthia's high for me because I think Cynthia is just gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. Then we got Mercedes, then we got Morgan, and then I got Marcia. Those are my girls. Those are my girls. I like those girls a lot. But that's really all I got, you guys. This episode didn't give us much, so I'm gonna come over here every blue moon to do Rated to Love. If the episode gives something, we'll definitely come on here and we'll talk about it live. But I appreciate everybody that came in and chatted with me in the live. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. I will see you guys tomorrow for Love and Marriage DC. Yeah, I'll see you guys for Love and Marriage DC because that comes on tonight. So I'm gonna have that one up before the Super Bowl tomorrow, and I will see you guys for Love and Marriage DC. So I hope you guys have a great night. Stay safe, you guys out there. Take care of yourselves. Wash your hands, you guys. Be blessed, and I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. Bye, y'all. Oh, actually, before we go, so you say Cynthia is the best out of everyone. Mercedes is gorgeous. I also agree. And can we pick the best looking guys? Oof. Oof. The best looking guy. Unfortunately, it's Blake. For me, it's Blake. Blake knows he's a handsome guy, and he uses that. Blue is not a bad looking guy. Lyndon looks like Sideshow Bob to me, so I can't give it to Lyndon. But there we go. So I'll give it to you guys. Blake and Blue. And I would have said Demario, but absolutely not after last week's episode. But I'll catch you guys later. Bye, y'all.